And because the jiva has the propensity to be covered by maya.
因为呢，基法威灵呢有一种倾向，容易被玛雅覆盖。
God is the master of maya.
而呢，神呢是玛雅假象能量的这个呢主人了。
But the jiva is falling into the net and the covering of maya.
但是呢，基法呢容易呢陷进这个罗网之中了，被玛雅覆盖。
God is the supreme enjoyer.
神是呢就是说自尊的享受者。
And the jiva is the servant.
而呢，基法呢威灵呢是仆人。
And God is the object of love.
神是呢爱的对象。
And of service.
服务的对象。
And the jiva is meant to serve.
而呢，基法呢本应该呢去做出服务了。
So there's a very big difference between the jiva and God.
所以呢，神跟基法之间有巨大的区别啊。
So in this way, the jiva is covered by maya.
所以基法呢是被玛雅假象的所覆盖。
And it falls into the karma and the bondage of birth and death.
那么他就陷入了这个生死的这个呢果报之中了这个轮回里面。
And he's completely in this cycle for millions of lives.
那么他呢就数百万生世呢完全呢就陷入这种循环这种轮回中。
And he falls. This is called samsara.
这个就称为呢 samsara
And he goes to the higher planetary systems.
他可以去到呢最高的星球。
When a person does very much pious activity.
当他从事大量的上行就虔诚活动的时候。
He will. The result of this pious activity, which is not bhakti and is not nitya dharma, but it's temporary material spiritual material credits.
那么这些就是说呢，活动的话呢，虔诚活动不属于呢奉爱活动不属于呢 nitya dharma 就灵魂永恒的子分里面的东西。那么它就会导致呢大量的福报累积了大量的福报。
So when the person does so much of this kind of activity, what will happen? He will rise to the heavenly planets.
那么当一个人有大量的这种呢上行的时候呢，他会自动提升到天堂。
And when all his
高等星球
credit of the good merit, which is happiness, so much pleasure.
那么呢，这种呢福报呢就是说结果就是呢，他将会拥有很多的快乐。
It's pleasure that is not found in this material world.
那么高等星球的快乐呢，是我们物质世界呢找不到的。
It's pleasures that are subtle, so it's very high pleasures only with the subtle body.
因为呢，它的那种快乐呢是来自精微身的。
And
精微身的快乐比我们的享受的粗糙快乐还要高出很多倍。
For 10,000 years he will. It's Gurudev's Maha. For 10,000 years he will enjoy this credits.
然后可以享受10万年。
But then after he will come back to earth.
但是呢最后呢他还要回到地球了。
And he will start the karma from zero.
从零开始这个业从业数就从0开始就开始算。
Then he will have to go to, if he does very bad activities, he goes down to the hellish planets.
如果呢做了很糟糕的活动呢又下地狱了。
And he has so many sufferings there.
那么在那里承受很多痛苦。
The reactions of all his bad actions.
那么所有这些呢就是说呢报应就坏的报应全部现出来了。
But after this karma is finished, again he will rise to the planetary earth.
那么恶报呢就是说呢了结之后呢他又来到地球。
And after this, he will roam up and down to the.
所以呢这样子上上下下就这么轮转。
This is samsara.
这个称为呢 samsara。
Now one time we've been in heaven and hell. We've been thousands of millions of times.
不仅我们一次去过天堂或地狱我们去过呢100万次。
We have millions of sinful activities from millions of lives.
因为我们来自呢过往生世呢有100万计的这种罪恶生活。
And we have millions of pious credits from millions of lives.
我们也有来自呢100万计生世的这些呢虔诚活动。
And this is why we are suffering and we are having happiness.
这就是为什么我们是苦乐参半既有快乐也有痛苦
Because happiness comes due
有福有祸了。
The happiness comes due to the result of all these pious activities, and the suffering comes result of simple activities.
因为呢，快乐来自呢过往的虔诚活动，而呢痛苦来自呢不虔诚的活动。
Therefore, it's never anybody's fault.
因此呢，也不是别人的错别人给你痛苦什么不是。
Anybody yelling at you, insulting you,
如果
or
有人对你大吼大叫或者是呢骂你了。
beating you,
或打你啊，
or giving you so much suffering,
或给你呢很多苦处啊。
Gurudev said, never think it's his fault, her
古鲁
fault.
爹说了啊，千万不要认为是这个人的错啊，那个人错，不要归咎于他人。
You should know it's the fault of your own karma.
好，那么你要知道这是你自己业报啊中的错。
And you have to understand this is the mercy of Krishna.
那么你要知道这是Krishna的仁慈。
And until you don't accept this,
如果你不接受这一点的话，
you cannot start spiritual life.
那么你就还不能够真正开始你的灵修生活。
Because this is really, we have to, this is ABC of spiritual
这个
life.
才是灵修生活的 ABC 啊，基本课程，
The
就是你接受如实的接受。
So in this way, the jiva is going up and down, up and down,
所以呢，既把一个微灵呢这样的啊上上下下的啊轮转，
and the cycle of birth and death.
在生死的啊轮回之中。
But then the third verse of this jiva, describing jiva tattva, very beautiful.
第3个世节的啊描述jiva tattva的。
This is after the jiva is going up and down in all the heavenly and hellish planets, suffering the happiness and suffering from their karma.
那么当一个jiva呢，就是说呢，承受着过往的业报karma 导致的这种的快乐也好还是痛苦在呢高等星宿或地狱里面就轮转。
What happens is that by one great good fortune, one has contact with a Vaishnava.
那么极大的幸运呢，他跟 Vaishnava 呢接触了。
Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes this verse very beautifully. He said, which is completely absorbed in relishing the bhakti ras in his heart.
那 Bhaktivinoda Thakur 呢讲到了这个高级的 Vaishnava 呢完全专注在呢体验内心的 bhakti ras。
And when one is so fortunate to witness that Vaishnava,
那么当一个人非常幸运的能够见到这样一位 Vaishnava，
one will immediately want to enter and follow into the life of the
那么
Vaishnava.
他会立即想进入并且追随这个 Vaishnava 的步伐。
And by continuously chanting Harinam
那么持续不断的唱诵 Harinam 圣名，
and following Shravana, Kirtanam, Smaranam,
去追随呢这个灵修程序聆听唱诵冥想
one will become qualified
那么这人就有资格
to be able to taste this bhakti ras.
就有资格去评赏呢这个呢 bhakti ras。
And by this, one will do the sadhana.
那么藉着这个呢，一个人呢从事他的 sadhana 他的灵性修习。
How we have the first day we described what is sadhana
我们第一天呢讲到了什么是 sadhana，
and what is the Raganuga sadhana
什么是自发奉爱的这个修习 sadhana。
that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give and Raghunatha Goswami and Rupa Goswami and Srila Gurudev.
那么这是呢Mahaprabhu要给出来的了要给的东西，这也是 Rupa Goswami、Raghunatha Goswami 还有 Gurudev 要给的。
So by aspiring to enter into this Raganuga sadhana,
那么为了就渴望呢进入了这个自发奉爱的这个 sadhana 这个修习，
first fixing the goal.
首先把目标确立了。
Because without goal, where can we go? We cannot go anywhere.
如果没有目标的话呢，我们能去哪里呢？去不了
First
哪
we
里。
fix the goal.
所以首先确定目标。
I want this service of Srimati Radhika.
我想要呢Srimati Radhika 的服务。
I want to become Radhika's Paradasi.
我想成为 Radhika 的 Paradasi 女仆了。
I want to attain this Manjari Bhav.
我想得到呢这个 Manjari Bhav 母女姑娘情感。
First setting the goal.
所以首先确定目标。
Then we can do the sadhana.
然后呢从事我的 sadhana 我们的 sadhana 就灵性修习部分。
And by practicing this sadhana that we described the first day,
那么呢去从事了我们第一天所说的这个 sadhana。
how we should always meditate in all the service of Srimati Radhika.
去冥想呢Srimati Radhika 的这个林林种种的服务。
Then one can become perfected.
那么一个人才能够变得完美。
And this is called sadhan siddha jiva.
这种jiva呢威灵呢被称为呢 sadhana siddha jiva。
One will become perfected by sadhana.
也就是藉由他的灵修sadhana 呢而达到完美 siddhi 的人。
And by becoming a sadhan siddha jiva, one can leave this material world.
只有呢到达就是 sadhana siddha 这个位置，就是藉由灵修而完美之后呢，他才能离开这个物质世界。
And enter into Goloka Vrindavan.
就是进入呢Goloka Vrindavan。
So the jivas, we are conditioned Badha jivas.
因为我们称为呢Badha jiva 受条件限制的灵魂。
What is the name of the jivas we are?
我们是哪种梵文词叫什么？受条件限制的灵魂。怎么说？梵文怎么说
What am I? What are you? What are we?
？Badha jiva。
Badha.
Badha jiva。
I want to say it. Badha jiva.
Badha jiva。
Badha jiva.
Badha jiva。
Badha jiva.
Badha jiva。
Means we're conditioned souls.
受条件限制的jiva。
But we will become someday
但是呢，我们有一天呢，可以成为呢
sadhana siddha jivas.
sadhana siddha jiva
Sadhana siddha jivas.
sadhana siddha jiva
Sadhana siddha jivas.
sadhana siddha jiva。
By doing sadhana, we can. This is the only way. There's no other way.
没有别的方法只有通过sadhana灵修。
By the mercy, but everything comes by mercy.
一切呢都有仁慈而造就了。
Ultimately, is the mercy of the Vaishnava.
实际上，终极来说都是Vaishnava的仁慈。
Sometimes sadhana is serving so much the Vaishnava.
实际上，有时候的sadhana呢灵修呢就是去呢大量的服务Vaishnava。
That they melt and they give you mercy.
他们心融化了就给你仁慈。
Then you can do bhajan.
这时候呢，我们才真正去做所谓巴掌灵修。
Not before.
不是说呢在此之前没有服务Vaishnava就能做。
Bhajan comes by the mercy.
也就是说呢，巴掌呢是只有仁慈而能够到来的。
But bhakti is independent.
但是奉爱呢也是独立的。
There's no fixed rule and any about where it will go.
也就是说呢，没有固定的这个呢规矩说奉爱一定会流向这里，会流向那里它没有固定的这个轨道，完全独立的。
Gurudev once said that a person can be very, very strict, following everything, all rules, all regulations, very strict, very pure, doing sadhana every day, so qualified.
Gurudev 说呢，一个人可以呢很严格的遵守各种戒律规范很纯净的每日呢就是进行他的sadhana灵修。
But not necessarily bhakti will fall in that person.
但是呢，奉爱不一定能够降落在这个人身上。
And another person can be very wretched and very fallen.
另外一个人呢，很堕落很糟糕的一个状态。
But has so much greed in his heart.
但是心中呢有很多贪婪
And bhakti will fall in that person.
奉爱呢，bhakti 呢就会低落在这个人身上了。
He said bhakti is completely independent.
所以呢，奉爱呢，bhakti 呢完全独立。
It doesn't depend on any material cause.
完全没有任何物质原因能够导致它了。
It's completely independent.
因此呢，它称为完全独立的。
This is why bhakti is so great.
所以为什么奉爱是如此了不起bhakti？
It can give them randomly. It's random. It will fall.
这个称呢六合彩一样就是说呢随机的抽的，随机就能够中彩了。
So in this way, jiva tattva briefly was understood.
所以呢，我们今天讲的jiva tattva可以这样简单的去理解关于微灵的真理。
Then the next point after jiva tattva is Veda Veda Amlaya Prahatatvam Hari Viham Paramam Sarva Shaktim Rasabdim That Vihinam Samscha Jiva Prakriti Kavalitam Tavimutam Shabbat Ved Aveda Prakasham. So now Veda Veda. Which is Achintya Veda Veda Tattva.
那么紧接着是Achintya Veda Veda Tattva.
Which means that this actually Mahaprabhu, he took the 4 sampradayas, Vaishnava sampradayas.
那么这个称为不可思议的记忆记忆Mahaprabhu 呢接受了4个传系的这个呢理论的精华。
And he took the synthesis of all.
他把这个精华这个理论的精华部分的精髓部分提取出来。
And made the conclusion.
就得出这个结论。
Which is Achintya Ved Aveda. Because some
那么就称为呢Achintya Ved Aved.
Some will say God is different.
因为有的人说神是不一样跟我们
Then it says non-different.
有的说呢又没有什么区别。
So in consistency, different and non-different.
所以呢这个就是呢既有相异之处又有相同了既相同又相异。
So
记忆记忆。
he established that God is inconceivably different and non-different.
所以他说了神God is different. God and who?
Achintya Veda Veda.
他说呢，关于神的命题就是说呢是不可思议的记忆这个理论。
Unconceivably different and non-different.
不可思议的记忆。
So to the jiva and God are different and non-different.
也就是说呢扩展来说呢jiva微灵跟神既是一既一又既一既相同又有不同之处，相异之处。
In which way?
以什么方式呢展示出来呢？
That the jiva is the same substance as God.
比如说它的构成性来说跟神是一样的。
Satchitananda.
Satchit Ananda.
We are same spiritual substance.
我们是同样的灵性的这个实质构成的。
So in this way we're the same.
从这一点来说呢是一样，跟神是一样的。
But we're different because
但是又不一样。
God is the controller and master of Maya.
那么神呢是就是 maya 假象能量的控制者和呢主人。
But the jiva is subject to be fallen in the covering of Maya.
但是呢jiva微灵呢却呢很容易呢就受制于 maya 就被 maya 的捆绑覆盖控制。
The jiva is function is to give service.
那么jiva微灵呢这个呢功能呢就是给出服务。
And God is the object of service.
而呢神呢是呢服务的对象。
And also it is compared like the jiva. For example, there is the jiva in this world. If there's a cloud,
如果呢有一团云
we cannot see the sun.
我们就看不到太阳了遮住了。
So this cloud is maya.
这个云朵呢就是 maya 假象。
So when the jiva is covered by maya,
所以呢，当呢jiva微灵呢被 maya 所覆盖的时候，
he cannot see God.
他看不到神的。
But when that cloud is removed,
当这个云层呢移开之后
maya
移开之后，
then he can fully see the sun.
那么他就能完全看到太阳了。
And in this way, the jiva, when it becomes liberated,
所以呢，当jiva呢得到解脱之后，
it has the same potency as God.
那么他就拥有神一样的能量
Because
能力，
in its pure spiritual
因
consciousness.
为呢他是纯粹的灵性自觉嘛。
Just like it said in the Guru song, Sakshat Darit Vena Samastu Shastra.
就像呢在咕噜巴赞歌里面灵性导师巴赞歌里面呢提到的，
In the Shastra, it said that Guru has the same potency as Hari.
也就是说经典提到了咕噜呢跟 Hari 呢是同样的能量它是主 Hari 的能量的直接展示了。
This is not an exaggeration.
这个绝对不是夸张的说法，
This is 100% true.
是100%的真实的。
The liberated souls have all the potency of God.
也就解脱灵魂呢拥有神的全部全能。
So they are simultaneously one and different and non-different.
所以呢，我们说的是同时的记忆了
So in this way, Achinta Veda Veda Tattva, inconceivably one and different and non-different.
不可思议的记忆这个理论。
So in this way, briefly, Achinta Veda Veda Tattva. Then the last point of Dasamula Tattva was
最后一点，
Veda Veda Prakasham Sakalam Api Hare Sadanam Shuddha Bhakti. So the sadhan, that is how we will get, the sadhan means Shuddha Bhakti.
sadhana 呢是什么呢？我们呢怎么去到达这个目标呢？就是呢Shuddha Bhakti 纯粹奉爱。
So there are many different types of bhakti.
有不同类型的奉爱服务 Bhakti。
It is described that there is the bhakti which is called karma mishra bhakti.
第一个成为呢 Karma Mishra Bhakti 混杂，
Which is the bhakti which is mixed with material desires.
也就是说混杂有物质欲望的这么一种奉爱服务
We see many religions in this world, they're praying to God but always asking, give me this, give me that. Give
现
me
在很多
that.
宗教都是这样子的他们服务神，但是同时呢向主祈求的时候呢说了给我这个给我那个要求了。
So this is actually not pure bhakti.
那么这就绝对不是的纯粹奉爱。
This is very this is mixed. Karma
这个称为呢Karma Mishra
means bhakti mixed with material desires.
也就 Mishra 是混杂的意思就是呢混杂有果报欲望的这么一种呢奉爱服务的。
Means mixed with reward-seeking activities.
那么就是说呢混杂有呢寻求呢回报的那么一种活动这种奉爱服务Karma Mishra Bhakti。
Like I will do so much activity, so much prayer, so much worship, whatever, but because I want something in return.
也就是说呢，我做这些活动比如说祈祷等等，我都想呢有这个东西回报了。
So this is not pure bhakti.
那么这不是纯粹奉爱
Then there's Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti,
第二种呢 Jnana Mishra Bhakti，
which is that bhakti which is mixed with Gyan.
混杂有 Gyan 这种，比如说
Usually Gyan is defined like the knowledge of the impersonal aspect of God.
Gyan 呢有时候呢就是说通常呢指的是呢非人格这方面的知识的。
That impersonal aspect of God means that God has no form, God has no qualities, God has no attributes.
也就是说呢，关于神非人格性的知识里面呢，通常提到了神呢没有呢形象无形无相，没有物质的没有品质没有力量等等。
And so this kind of bhakti which is covered with this type of gyan
如果呢这个奉爱服务呢被这种 gyan 呢所覆盖的话，
is not pure bhakti.
那么就不是纯粹的奉爱。
Therefore, the description we can see that there are many maya-Vadis,
所以呢，我们知道有很多 maya-Vadi、
Brahma-Vadis.
Brahma-Vadi 反觉派，还有假象宗，还有佛教徒。
You know the schools, impersonal schools.
这个都统称为呢就是非人格的这个学派的。
They're doing bhakti.
他们也在做你的奉爱服务Bhakti。
That's one.
No, maya-Radha is doing bhakti? No.
Yes, they are. Of course.
Oh.
This is why it's very bad because actually they take the shelter of bhakti because they know that they can never get anything without the shelter of
他们
bhakti.
也托庇呢奉爱 bhakti 啊，因为他们知道呢没有这个的话呢，他们得不到结果。
We see the maya-Radhis, they're chanting Hare Krishna.
我们也看到一些 maya-Radha 假象中也唱 Hare Krishna， 所以你不要以为。
Now in West, there's so many yoga schools, so many schools.
因为在西方国家很多瑜伽啊这个学院。
And there now the devotees are starting to get infiltrated into all the yoga schools preaching kirtan.
因为呢，奉献者呢就是也渗透到呢各个瑜伽这个瑜伽馆等等呢，就是说去传播呢kirtan。
Kirtan is so attractive.
因为呢 kirtan 本身很有吸引力啊。
So now the maya-Radhis said, no, okay, we will also do kirtan.
那么 maya-Radha 呢假象中呢也说我们也做 kirtan 我们也唱诵。
They're doing so much kirtan.
他们也大量的唱啊。
Just now, 2 days ago, one friend wrote, she's now living in Spain.
我有一个朋友今天写了一封信给我西班牙的一个朋友。
She went to a yoga school.
他去一个瑜伽学校。
Because they're doing kirtan.
因为他们在吟唱嘛kirtan。
She said, "Oh my God, you cannot imagine."
他说你不知道啊，你不能想象。
They're chanting to Kali Ma, Durga Ma.
他们给 Kali Ma Durga 女神 Kali 女神唱
And they're all singing and everybody's singing, but they don't even know what they're singing.
他们每个人都在唱，但是呢不知所云呢不知道自己呢在唱什么。
And she's asking one girl, she says, "Do you even know what you're singing?"
那么他就问其中一个女孩子说：“你知道你在唱什么吗？”
So in this way, maya-Radhis are doing kirtan.
所以呢 maya-Radha 呢也用 kirtan 这一个。
They chant Hare Krishna.
他们也唱 Hare Krishna.
They even have deities and they worship.
他们也有神像崇拜了。
We go to the big maya-Radhi temples in Vrindavan. There are many.
在 Vrindavan 也很多 maya-Radha 的这个庙
Ashrams.
修院。
And you see big deities of Radha and Krishna.
他们也有很大的 Radha Krishna 这个神像。
But they think that God is impersonal.
但是他们认为神是非人格的。
Is a light.
是光。
And that then he will become transformed and enter into Maya and take a Maya form of God.
他们进入 Maya 转化了就采取了 Maya 的一个形象一个像出来了。
But then when Maya takes away the shape, then he will again become the impersonal Brahman.
Taking the shape.
You know, like he will take shape through Maya agency. He will take a shape like a body. But then when the Maya takes a covering, he will again become impersonal Brahman.
那么当 Maya 呢移去呢之后呢，那么他们又成为非人格的就他说神又是非人格的。
So in this way, the maya-Radhis we see.
所以呢maya-Radha 呢就是说这些假象中
So in this way we see the maya-Radhis how they are. How they are serving in this way.
maya-Radha 呢也在这样子做。
Through bhakti.
通过奉爱 bhakti 的一些东西。
They're doing bhakti to attain really nothingness.
他们那个通过呢所谓的奉爱服务呢，最后到达呢是空无最后啥都没有
So this is why bhakti should never be covered with gyan.
所以呢 bhakti 呢奉爱呢不能够被 gyan 这种非人格性的知识呢所覆盖。
Like now I was in Finland.
比如说我在芬兰的时候
I was preaching in one yoga center.
我在一个瑜伽馆里面就是传教。
Like 200 people.
200个人
It was one celebration.
因为他们是一个大的庆祝。
And then I did kirtan.
我在那里做 kirtan
But I was actually smashing maya-Radha.
然后我在那里呢就是呢去粉碎他们 maya-Radha 就是假象中的一些理论。
And there was a maya-Radhi guru next to me.
旁边坐着一个 maya-Radha 假象中的咕噜在我身边
And then he was like shaking.
他在那里发抖了。
But in a very soft way, you know, I just presented how it is.
那么只是我一种很柔和的方式我就把这些命题呈现出来。
I explained that when you merge into that impersonal light.
我说当你融入这个非人格光的时候。
We have a seed, our eternal swarup, our eternal spiritual.
我们有一个灵性的种子这个 swarup 灵性形象的种子。
And when we merge into that light,
如果我们融入这个光的话
it's like popcorn. When it pops, the seed is lost.
就像这个呢我们的爆米花这个爆米花一旦放火里面爆过的话，它就没了它就结束了。
Actually, becoming one with the light is not easy thing. It's very hard work. Gurudev was explaining.
不是说了你变成那个光了，实际上不是那么容易的事情，很困难的。
But all your your seed in form, everything is destroyed.
但是呢，你那个种子的话呢就被毁了。
It's like suicide.
就像自杀一样就像爆米花放到火里面，砰， 那个种子就已经死了。
Also, when you become one,
当你合为一体的时候
you lose. Actually, your individual identity is lost.
你的个体性的话呢就丧失了。
So when it's lost,
个体身份丧失
where if you don't have any more an identity,
那么当你再没有这个身份的时候
who will want that? Then they will not be able to relish the love, the prema.
那么呢谁会想要这个呢他没办法去品尝爱。
There's no question of experiencing any happiness or any nirvana. Nothing. You don't. How can you experience if you cease to be?
如果你停止了这种身份的话，你怎么去品尝任何快乐？
You have no more identity.
你没有这个身份了身份丧失了。
So in this way, I was explaining that beyond becoming one,
我说了，超越这个合为一体的这个境界，
it's actually prema,
就是 prema
which is pure transcendental love.
就是超然纯粹的爱。
And to have love, you need two.
要爱的话，要两个人
You need the lover and the beloved.
就是那个爱人爱者和被爱者。
And in this way, you can have a relationship with God.
这样子呢，才能跟神有个关系的。
So without service, there cannot be relationship.
没有服务的话呢，就无从有关系。
And without service, there's not love.
也就是呢，没有服务的话呢，就无从谈爱了。
So love is the highest attainment.
所以呢，爱才是最高的成就。
And the Vedas describe
韦达经里面也讲到
the impersonal aspect of God,
神的非人格那一面。
but it also describes the personal aspect
那
of
么
God.
韦达经也描述了神呢人格性的一面。
And nowhere in the whole creation you can find anything which is devoid of form.
那么在整个创造里面，你没有找到一个没有形象的东西。
Everything has form.
什么东西都有个形。
Therefore, the aspect which is personal is higher and superior.
所以呢，有形状就人格性的展示的话，实际上是更高一点的。
So in this way, all these people in Finland, they were even getting together and singing about Durga, Shiva, Ganesh, Krishna, Kirtan, everything mixed because they're not knowing.
因为呢，芬兰那些瑜伽馆的学生的话呢，他们就唱各种歌了给杜嘎女神、给卡里女神、跟Ganesh、希瓦因为他们不知道
But they're looking.
也唱 Hare Krishna，they're looking。
They're looking for something.
但是呢，他们也在寻找。
But they're chanting Hare Krishna also, but they're not understanding who is who, what.
但是呢，他们也唱 Hare Krishna， 但是不知道是唱的是什么意思。
And then this maya-Radha guru will teach him. Oh, at the end he did kirtan and he sang Eka Baba, we're all one, and everybody was doing kirtan, we're all one, we're all one.
后来呢，他呢这个 maya-Radha 的咕噜呢就领唱 kirtan 嘛，Eka Baba。
I can't remember the song, but
但是我们是一就 kirtan 的时候，大家都拍掌。
Eka Kevalam,
Eka Kevalam， 我们都是一的，我们是一。
Baba Kevalam.
Baba Kevalam。
And everybody was Baba Kevalam dancing, and they're singing, we're one. They're not knowing what they're singing.
我们都是一我们是一那么他们也不知道自己唱的是什么。
He did it just to take revenge because of everything I've spoken.
他那次报复我了因为我跟他说了，另外跟他唱反调，他就专门唱这个我们是一。
But anyhow, my point is
我这个要点是呢
that bhakti, which is covered with jnana, is not pure bhakti.
被呢这种非人格性的知识这个 jnana 所覆盖的奉爱并不是呢真正的纯粹奉爱。
Jnana Mishra Bhakti.
Jnana Mishra Bhakti 这个。
Which is jnana is that knowledge of the impersonal aspect.
那么这个 jnana 呢，主要是指的非人格性的知识神非人格性的一面。
You see, the maya-Vadis do kirtan.
你们会看到的maya-Radha 假象中也在做 kirtan。
They do bhakti.
也在所谓从事奉爱服务。
They worship deities.
他们也崇拜神像。
But they think God has no form.
但是呢，他们里面还是认为神没有形象。
They think God does not exist.
或者是神根本不存在。
So bhakti should not be like that.
所以呢，奉爱不要是这样子的面貌。
Then it is explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu, Sangha Siddha Bhakti.
所以呢，在 Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu 里面提到了 Sangha Siddha Bhakti。
What is Bhakti?
什么是奉爱 Bhakti？
I mean associates of Bhakti.
就奉爱的关联的东西了，跟奉爱关联的东西。
This is not directly Bhakti.
那么这个还不是直接的奉爱服务 Bhakti。
They are associates of Bhakti.
他们称为奉爱服务的关联物。
It describes tolerance,
比如说容忍、
humility,
谦卑、
cleanliness,
干净、
study of the Vedas,
研习韦达经，
celibacy,
真守独身，
then austerity,
苦行，
then living in a solitary place.
住在那僻静的地方，
All these things are not bhakti.
这些都不属于呢奉爱服务，
They're not.
他们不是啊。
But because they are related to a person that is cultivating bhakti,
但是呢，因为跟那个呢培养奉爱服务的人呢相关了，这些品质呢跟这个人相关，
then they are called associates of bhakti.
他们称为呢奉爱服务的附带连带的一些东西了，连带
Sangha Siddha Bhakti.
称为三个 C 的 Bhakti 光联物。
But if a person is following all these things that I just mentioned,
但是如果一个人只是追随呢这些品质就是说呢洁净遵守独身等等，研习韦达经，
but
但是呢
they're not cultivating the real limbs of bhakti,
却不去培养呢奉爱服务的真正的支部活动肢体了，
like Shravanam,
像聆听唱诵、冥想
means chant, hearing,
聆听
chanting,
唱诵
remembering,
铭记，
vandana.
还有呢顶拜。
If you're not following these limbs, then these things are useless.
那么这些呢光联物的话呢，就显得没有价值了，
They have no power at all.
没有力量。
So in this way, it is described. We should know what is bhakti and what is not.
所以呢，我们要知道什么是奉爱什么是非奉爱，不是奉爱的。
And then Gurudev explained in all this,
古鲁爹解释过所有这些点。
Then he gave the example of Aropsida Bhakti.
他讲了 Aropsida Bhakti，
Those things that we do which are not directly bhakti.
也就是呢，我们所做的还不是呢直接是奉爱服务。
Because Rupa Goswami has described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu the 64 limbs of bhakti.
因为呢，他讲就是 Rupa Goswami 呢在呢奉爱甘露之阳里面讲到了64项奉爱服务。
And in these 64 limbs of bhakti, it is described, for example, Shravanam, Kirtanam,
比如说聆听唱诵这些。
Prasadam Seva.
Prasadam Seva 就服务 Prasadam，
This is directly bhakti.
这些是直接奉爱的肢体。
Parikrama.
还有朝拜Parikrama，
Giving obeisances to the
还有
Lord.
呢向主顶拜这些。
Arti, watching the Arti ceremony.
观瞻这个阿体灯仪的这个过程。
Puja.
不讲崇拜本身的，
All these things are bhakti.
这些都属于呢奉爱 Bhakti。
But sometimes we do things, and see, when the people started to come to Gurudev, like in 93, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, especially.
那么在90年代初期91、92、93、94年那段时间。
And in 96, when he started going to West and coming, people were coming to India.
96年他去西方国家的时候，有些人也就跟回来印度。
They have been distributing books all day in the street for
他们
years.
每天在街上派书很多年都这么做，
All day long,
一天都到晚都派书，
like money machines.
像一个呢赚钱的工具一样。
But Gurudev was telling them, this is not bhakti.
古力跟他们说，这不是奉爱服务。
Actually, people were very disturbed by this.
实际上呢，很多人听到这个话呢就觉得有点受到骚扰了，心里面
People were very disturbed because they're saying, what? We've been working 10 hours a day. How can you say this is not bhakti?
我们呢一天辛苦10个小时在外面派书你说这个不是奉爱服务Bhakti。
So Gurudev was insisting, book distribution is not bhakti. Book distribution is not bhakti.
古力说了派书不是奉爱服务来的，不是。
And there's this list of 64 limbs of bhakti.
因为呢本身就有64项奉爱服务的这个清单在那。
Book distribution is not included there.
派书并不是其中一种
But so Gurudev was trying to explain that it's Arop Siddha Bhakti.
古力说的这种活动呢属于 Aropsida Bhakti，
Which means that, for example,
比如说
I like lasagna.
我喜欢拉萨呀这个食物，
Or I like tofu.
或者喜欢豆腐
Fried tofu.
煎的豆腐
So, I'm going to make an offer to Krishna of tofu.
然后呢我呢就给 Krishna 做这个豆腐这道菜。
Is this really for Krishna or is it really for me?
这是给 Krishna 呢还是真的是给我呢还是给 Krishna？
So we are offering our desires, or we offer the fruit of our work to Krishna.
我们把我们工作的活动的结果供奉给 Krishna。
But it's not really for his. We're not thinking, oh, he loves tofu.
那么你只是想他喜欢豆腐，
We're thinking, I like tofu.
实际上实际上你是自己想的豆腐。
This is called Aropsida Bhakti.
这称为 Aropsida。
So in this way, also we're doing books. Oh, I want to collect money.
然后派书你想就是说呢有点钱了募集资金了。
So many people distribute books because this is a way to collect money.
因为这是唯一的募集资金的方式啊。他们
Gurudev would say this is Aropsiddha Bhakti.
古典说呢，这种呢属于 Aropsiddha Bhakti。
But after 3 or 4 years, he preaching like this.
3-4年之后，他这样传教，3-4年之后呢，
Because he actually wanted the people to come and sit and chant Harinam and chant 1 lakh and try to do bhajan.
他实际上呢想要那些人呢能够安安定定坐下来念64圈，
But he
说巴掌。
thought it was not possible.
但后来呢看了一下情况呢觉得这些人根本做不了。
So the people were so much into the movement of thinking that book distribution, that is it.
因为他们已经进入这种心态了，觉得派书就是一切，
That is the topmost service.
最高的服务。
So I think at the end he didn't want to discourage so much that.
所以呢他最后呢也不想让他们泄气嘛。
Because people were getting a little bit like disturbed, I think. So then one time in Los Angeles,
所以在洛杉矶的时候古鲁爹就说了，
which I was very astonished,
我就很惊讶，他这样说，
he said, if you distribute a book,
如果你派一本书的话，
not because I want to get money from it,
不是想从里面得钱的，
not because I want to get profit,
也不想得利润的，
but only because I want you to have this knowledge.
而是呢我想要这种知识。
Take it for free if you like, no problem, but take it.
就是说呢，我想给出这种知识你要免费你都可以拿去。
Give me what you can. If you can't, don't give it. Take.
那么呢，无论你有没有钱都可以你拿去吧没钱就算了，
Just read it.
只要读就行了。
He said, in this mood,
如果有这种心态派书的话，
this is Uttama Bhakti.
这是顶尖的奉爱服务。
And I was what?
我就觉得很惊讶，他开始也又讲回同样的派书的问题，
I was talking to
心
them
态的问题。
after years telling this is Aropsiddha Bhakti.
那么很多年呢，他都说了这是 Aropsiddha Bhakti 这不是纯粹的。
He said this can be like this.
但是呢，他后来说派书可以有这
In
种
this
心态
mood.
用这种心态去，那就是顶尖的奉爱服务 Uttama Bhakti，
Not wanting something in return.
不想呢要回报。
So, but Aropsiddha Bhakti means, Gurudev says a rope is like a rope, means you think, oh, it's a snake. Oh no, it's a rope.
rope 意思呢就是说呢你觉得这是条蛇实际上不是是条绳子。
So this is Bhakti, like you think it is, but it's not. It's
也就是说
something
你认为是实际上并非，似是而非的奉爱。
Aropsiddha Bhakti is you thinking you're doing Bhakti, but it's not
也
really.
就是说呢，你认为你是在做奉爱服务，实际上并非，你并非在做了。
Like you're doing work and you offer the results of your work to God.
也就是你做了这个活动你把这个结果呢供奉给神，你认为是做了。
But it's not any level.
实际上呢，它还不属于呢奉爱服务任何一个肢体活动。
This is called Guru Seva.
这个也成为呢对咕噜的服务吧咕噜 Seva。
But it's not directly Bhakti.
但是呢，并不属于直接的奉爱服务。
So in this way, we should understand if we're doing Bhakti or not.
所以呢，我们也这样明白我们是否在做奉爱服务。
Then Gurudev very boldly he went to West,
古典呢非常就是说勇敢的在西方国家
describing what is Bhakti.
去描述什么奉爱究竟是什么。
Do I have to stop?
No,
I
no.
think so. Otherwise, you couldn't continue the second
It's
part.
okay.
Yeah.
No, oh, this
3:30,
I will
yeah.
talk tonight.
Yeah. 下午呢，我们开始讲。
No, but now I will finish what is
Yeah,
Bhakti. I
okay.
want to finish what is
那
Bhakti.
先提一下最后一点。
So Bhakti, then the 2 last points about sadhana. Oh, sadhana means Shuddha Bhakti. So I'm describing.
所以呢，我们讲到了奉爱的这个呢灵修程序是什么方法是什么？就是纯粹奉爱Shuddha Bhakti，不是混杂果报的也不是混杂gyan的不是前面提的这些。
And the last point of Dasamula Tattva is that the goal is prema.
而呢Dasamula Tattva 10个基本真理最后一点就是呢关于目标prayojan就是呢这个呢 prem
But this will be described by the classes of today and tomorrow.
那么这就是今天的课
Prema.
prema 和明天的课讲的。
But now it's Bhakti.
现在先讲奉爱服务这个程序本身。
Gurudev went to West with 2 verses, special.
古鲁爹呢去西方国家主要带的2节诗。
Anya Virashita Shunyam. Oh no, Anarpita Charin Chirat Karne Vachana Kalau Samaparitu Unata Uchwala Rasan Swabhakti Sham Hari Purata Sundari Ruti Kadam Basamipita Sada Hidaya Kandares Puratu Vasachinam. This verse, which he explained why Mahaprabhu came to this
那么
world.
这个诗节呢就我们以前提到的这个奉爱字典里面的主题诗节了讲的为什么妈妈布降临在这个世界上，
And what he came to give.
他来究竟给什么？
And also he came to explain what is pure bhakti.
那么他也解释了什么是纯粹奉爱。
So this verse, Anya Vilashita Shunyam Jnana Karma Adhyanabritam Anukulyana Krishna Nashiralam Bhakti Rutamam. He's saying over and over and over describing what is pure bhakti.
那么他一次又一次的解释了什么是纯粹的奉爱。
So 5,000 years ago in the forest of Naimisharanya, there were 88,000 sages gathered.
那么在5000多年前呢，在Naimisharanya森林88000圣者呢，在森林中就聚集了。
Kali Yuga was going to start.
因为呢，卡里年代即将到来，
They were very worried.
他们很担心了。
Krishna had left.
Krishna 已经离开了，隐迹了。
So they sat Sutta Goswami.
所以呢，他们将Sutta Goswami 呢扶上去就是说这个座位高座。
And they asked him, please, you are the oldest Vedantist.
他说你是最资格最老的Vedantist 就是呢韦达经的通晓者了。
You're the most learned. You have heard all the Vedas and you have assimilated perfectly well.
你呢已经研习过所有就是说遍读韦达经并且吸收消化的最好的。
And because you're a very gentle disciple, your guru has favored you with all his mercy.
因为你是一个温顺的一个门徒了，所以你的咕噜的话呢恩宠你就给你所有仁慈了。
So you have studied all the divisions, and the Vedas is very vast, and it has so many divisions, so it's very hard to know what is the essence.
所以韦达经呢非常就是这个经书浩瀚就是呢很多人读了各部之后呢，很难得出一个就是能够汲取里面的精华的。
So please tell us in essence what you have extracted from all the Vedas, so in a very simple manner, so that we can understand.
他说，请你以简洁的方式就是说呢，去就是说汲取呢韦达经的精华向我们解释一下。
Because now it's Kali Yuga starting, men are lazy.
因为卡里年代开始后呢，人们懒惰，
Unfortunate,
非常不幸的，
unintelligent,
没有智慧，
memory short,
这个记忆很差，
life is short.
寿限很短，
They're always quarreling,
总是争吵不断，
and especially always disturbed.
且总是心神骚扰
So please tell us what have you concluded to be the essence in order for all the humanity that they can be fully satisfied.
也就是说呢，你呢提炼出总结出呢这个精华吧让到这些人人类呢能够藉此呢就呢得到呢他们全然的满足。
So that the soul can be satisfied.
也就是说灵魂能够得到满足了。
So he said, Savai pumsam paro dharmo jato vatira dokshaya ahaitukya prahihata yayatma suprasidati. He said this is the very important verse because it is describing bhakti.
那么这节诗他就给出了这节诗在佛教版的第一篇里面提到的第一篇第2章第6节，这描述呢 bhakti 奉爱。
It is saying, Savai pumsam, the highest paro dharmo, the highest occupation.
Paro dharmo 就是说呢最高的dharma 最高的这个职分就是说天职了。
For all humanity.
对所有人类来说最高的职分是什么呢？他应该做的
is that by which one can do Yato bhakti adokshaya. One can do bhakti to that. Adokshaya means that transcendental personality.
也就是对 adoksha 超然之主呢做出的奉爱服务。
And this bhakti should be ahai-tukhi.
而且这种奉爱服务呢，应该是 ahai-tukhi.
Means it should not have any material cost.
不应该有任何物质动机的，物质缘故导致
It should
的。
be costless.
是无缘故的就是说没有物质缘故的导致的这种奉爱服务。
And it should be continuous.
而且是持续不断的。
And yayatma suprasidati, and then to fully satisfy the self.
那么这就完全的满足了自我了。
And Gurudev explained yayatma, atma, to satisfy the self, atma.
满足了这个灵魂 atma。
But Gurudev described that if one actually satisfies the supreme atma, the super soul, God.
如果一个人满足了至尊主了 ，atma。
No, Paramatma.
Atma is mean the supreme Lord.
Supreme personality.
至尊主至尊主了。
If one satisfied that supreme being, automatically myself and everybody will be satisfied.
也就是说，当一个人满足了这个至尊主之后呢，他自己我了跟那所有人都能得到满足。
But who has this paradharmo means the highest bhakti? Who has it?
谁能够拥有这种呢paradharma 就是说最高的奉爱呢？
Only the gopis.
只有牧女姑娘才有的。
Only they have the highest kind of love.
只有他们有最高形式的爱。
And that will be described tomorrow.
明天我们再解释这个。
Morning.
明天早上。
So in this way, bhakti is defined. This is a very perfect explanation.
那么这是一个很完美的这个定义的关于奉爱服务 bhakti。
But Rupa Goswami gave a little bit better
但是
explanation.
Rupa Goswami 呢给出了更好一点的解释，
With this verse, Anya Vilashita Shunya,
就是呢 Anya Vilasita Shunya，
which describes, this is very important verse because this is the definition of what is bhakti.
因为这个描述了奉爱的定义啊，这是很重要的时节了。
So it says that it's the effort, the cultivation of all the effort of our mind.
那么它是关于呢我们的心意
mind, body,
身体、
words,
言语、
spiritual emotion,
灵性活动灵性情感的这种活动的一种培育
to give pleasure to God.
要给神带来快乐的，
It should be devoid of any desire,
完全没有其他欲望掺杂其中，
only the desire to give pleasure to God.
只有一个欲望就是愿望呢给神带来快乐
And，it should not be covered by gyan or karma.
不被karma 果报活动和 gyan 就是非人格知识的这种覆盖
It should be favorable for God,
对神来说是顺意的，
and it should be continuously.
而且是持续不断的一种奉爱
This
服
is
务。
Uttama Bhakti.
那么这个称为呢 Uttama Bhakti 纯粹奉爱。
So this verse, Gurudev explains that the first line describes what bhakti is not.
所以呢，顾瑞说的第一行诗呢解释了奉爱不是这一个就是从反论来论证的。
This is called Tatastha Lakshana.
这个构成了奉爱的 Tatastha Lakshana 就是说奉爱的外在特征的。
Means the extrinsic characteristics of bhakti.
也就是说呢，它的外在的特征
So in this first line it says Anya Vilashita Shunyan. Means it's completely devoid of all the desires.
完全没有欲望，物质欲望在里面，
So this is bhakti. It's completely devoid of all desires.
没有物质欲望掺杂。
But the word desire means is Anya Vilasa.
Anya Vilasa 这个词代表欲望，
But it is added Sita.
但是呢，这个我们用的是加了一个词缀尾缀呢叫 sita。
So it says Anya Vilasita Shunyan.
Anya Vilasita Anya Vilasita Sunya。
Anya Vilasita.
Anya Vilasita Sunya。
So why is that Sita added
为
there?
什么加了个 sita 呢？那个尾缀呢？
That Sita means that some desires are okay.
这意味着呢，某些欲望呢是可以接受的。
So why is this suffix added?
为什么有这个尾缀在其中呢？
Because at the time of an emergency,
比如说在紧急情况下，
if I'm going to have a car accident,
我可能马上要车祸了被车撞了，
and I say, Krishna, Krishna, help me, save
我说
me.
Krishna Krishna 救救我。
These desires are okay.
这个愿望就是紧急情况的这个愿望是可以的，可以被接受。
But if I'm chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare, oh I want this.
但是呢，如果我唱诵 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 没什么别的事发生，但是我心里面冒出念头，我想要这个，
I want to buy a new motorbike.
我想买一个新的这个呢这个摩托车。
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna all day. This premeditated desires, these are not allowed.
这个预先就是放到脑子里面的这个欲望的就不允许了就是不是紧急情况下是你在里面脑子构思好了我要这个，我想要这个。
It should not be covered by this kind of desire.
所以呢，奉爱服务呢不应该被这种欲望呢覆盖。
So it says Shunyam not covered. It should be
是
devoid
完全没有这种欲望。
devoid of desires except that kind of desire of emergency.
只除了呢紧急情况下这个可以。
Then it explains Jnana Karmadi Anavritam.
那么紧接那句呢叫 Jnana Karmadi Anavritam。
It should not be covered by Jnana and Karma.
也就是说呢，不应该被呢 Jnana 和 Karma 覆盖。
So what is Jnana?
Jnana 是什么呢？
We described before, Jnana is
前面讲了。
that knowledge of the impersonal form of God.
也就是说，关于神非人格性的这方面的知识，描述到非人格特征的知识。
If we think God has no form,
认为神没有形象
God，has no qualities,
没有品质，
no attributes,
没有呢特征，
no pastime,
也
nothing,
没有逍遥时光。
then bhakti should not be covered with this type of jnana.
也就是说呢，奉爱不应该被这种jnana 呢所覆盖。
But we cannot be a devotee. Rupa Goswami says we cannot be devoid of all knowledge.
但是呢，如果上面讲的，我们不能够什么知识都没有，
We have to have knowledge of bhakti,
应该有奉爱的知识，
knowledge of sadhana,
关于灵修的知识、萨达的知识，
Tattva, Siddhanta, all these things
他
that
的 Siddhanta
nourish.
这些滋养我们的奉爱了。
So this bhakti is good for us to cultivate our sadhana.
那么这些知识呢，有利于我们培养我们的 sadhana。
But not this kind of gyan.
但是呢，不是我们刚才讲的非人格性的这种知识了，这样。
And then it should not be covered with karma.
也不应该被 karma 所覆盖。
Karma means reward-seeking activities.
这就是呢寻求回报的这种活动，
Means
火化活动。
we should not do bhakti expecting something in return.
也就是说呢，我们从事奉爱服务不应该呢去期望有东西能够回馈自己了。
Bhakti should be only for the pleasure of God.
只为神的快乐而做。
For His pleasure.
为他的快乐而做。
Not asking for any remuneration.
不求自己的这个回报。
So this is the meaning of karma.
这个称为 karma。
And adi means other things also.
阿底呢，就是说以这个为首了还包含其他东西。
Like
这里面只是提到这两个包括瑜伽 yoga。
It cannot be covered by yoga, like Ashtanga yoga. This mystic.
八部瑜伽就是说呢，寻求呢这个神通的八部瑜伽。
The desire to attain mystic powers.
他们寻求呢这个神通力、神秘力量。
Should not be covered by this.
也不应该被这个覆盖。
Now the second line of this verse, it defines directly what bhakti is.
那么这个结识的第二句的话呢，第二段呢，就直接讲述了奉爱是什么。
So, in this way, it's called Swarup Lakshana.
因此呢，它构成了 Swarup Lakshana.
Means the intrinsic characteristics of bhakti.
也就是奉爱的内在特征。
So it is described anukulyana.
他讲到 anukulyana
means that it should be favorable for Krishna.
对 Krishna 来说是有利于他顺应 Krishna 的。
So we see that it should be favorable for Krishna. So in this way, Gurudev always gave the example.
Gurudev 总是呢举一个例子
And this is the word that makes this verse superior than the other verse from Srimad Bhagavatam that I said.
那么也是这个词儿anukulyana 呢，令到呢我们说了关于纯粹奉爱的定义呢，这个师节呢要高于呢前面讲的不教法堂那个师节高一点，高出一筹了，就是因为用了这个词儿anukulyana。
Because this word was not mentioned in the other verse.
因为呢这个词儿呢没有用在前面那个师节里面前面师节没有提到这个词儿。
So this word is very important.
所以这个词呢很重要至关重要。
And the meaning is that it should be favorable for God.
也就是说呢，这个活动呢，我们所做的活动对神来说呢，是顺意有利于他的。
And that is, for example.
比如说
Who is that? Jayshree. Oh no, Jayshree's here. Okay. Oh, it's Hemangi. So what is the meaning? The meaning is that it should be favorable for God. For example, Gurudev gives example that sometimes we see Jasoda Ma.
Gurudev 说了，有时候我们看到 Yasoda 妈妈
You know Krishna, Jasoda Ma, she is churning the butter.
她在搅拌了酸奶Yasoda 妈妈
And she is absorbed in Krishna.
她呢沉醉于呢Krishna。
She's churning the butter.
那么她搅拌了这个酸奶
The yogurt. And then comes Krishna's crying. He's in the bed, he woke up.
Krishna 呢就醒过来他在床上
And he starts singing, Ma,
他呢就叫着妈
Ma,
妈
but mother not listening.
但是妈妈呢没听到了
So he becomes angry and goes crying to his mother.
那么他就生气了就哭着就跑到母
And
亲面前
he pulls her skirt.
扯到她的裙子
So then she takes him in his lap and starts giving him breast milk.
那么他就把他抱起来抱在腿上给他喂奶了
And he's absorbed in drinking the milk of his
那
mother.
么他呢就沉醉在就是吸吮母亲的奶水
And she is also, they're both absorbed in their exchange of love.
那么他们两者呢都就专注在了这种爱的交流了
Because
母子之爱的那种交流
Krishna is not really thirsty for milk.
Krishna 呢并不是呢因为要喝奶而口渴或者肚子饿
He's thirsty for prema.
他是因为呢prema 他渴求的是 prema
He's only thirsty and hungry because of the prema of the devotee.
是因为奉献者的 prema 他会渴会饿
So in this way, she's given milk.
所以呢他给他喂奶也说的
Meanwhile, there's a milk pot boiling in the fire.
那么同时呢有一个奶罐在那煮的牛奶
So the milk is thinking, because it's all pure spiritual consciousness in the spiritual world.
因为灵性世界全部是纯粹的知觉。
The milk has pure consciousness.
牛奶也是纯粹知觉构成。
So the milk is thinking, oh well, Krishna is drinking milk, but his stomach is unlimited. There are millions of universes, and his stomach is unlimited.
然后呢 ，Krishna 呢在喝奶，但是呢他的肚子无数的宇宙在栖息在里面，所以他肚子的度量是无穷无尽的。
And Yasodama, she is the origin of the ocean of milk.
而Yashoda 妈妈呢是她就是牛奶之阳的源头啊。
So her milk is never going to end.
她的奶水呢也是没有尽头的。
And his stomach has no end either.
Krishna 的肚子呢也是无穷大的。
So the milk that is boiling in the pot thinks I'm not going to be able to serve.
所以呢，牛奶呢在锅里面，牛奶就想着没有办法服务了。
I better commit suicide.
最好呢自杀吧。
So he starts jumping out of the pot and he's going to jump into the fire.
所以呢，他从这个罐子里面呢溢出来了然后跳到火里面。
To commit suicide.
去自杀了。
But in this moment, Yasodama saw and took Krishna and took him down and immediately took the pot.
Yashoda 呢这时候呢把 Krishna 就撂下来马上就是说去到那奶罐那里。
And said, "Don't worry, I will engage you in your service. I will do laddus. Don't worry."
他说呢，不要担心我会让你投入服务了我会把你做成拉堵其他东西。
But she took Krishna out of her breast and put him to a side.
他把 Krishna 呢甩到一边，放在一边去了。
So Krishna became very angry.
Krishna 很生气了。
He was so angry that his mother had threw him like that.
母亲呢这样子把他撂下来了，很生气了。
You see, Putana, she wanted to kill Krishna.
那么我们看到 Putana 想杀 Krishna.
She put poison in her breast.
在乳房上涂的毒液了。
But Putana has the strength of thousands of millions of elephants.
他有就是说万头大象的力量。
But she could not get Krishna off her breast.
但是呢，却不能推开 Krishna.
But Yasodama just went like this and put him in a second.
Yashoda 呢很快就把他能够放下撂下来。
Because she has prema.
这是因为他的 prem
So he can be controlled by prema.
他可以被 prem 所控制。
So now Krishna became very angry and went and found the yogurt pot, climbed in the mortar and started breaking the pot.
那么 Krishna 呢就爬到研磨上去他捣蛋了就看别的双奶罐子然后呢敲破了罐子拿着吃了。
And he's feeding the monkeys.
还有呢喂这些猴子。
But then Yashoda, she sees the monkeys get scared.
他看到猴子们很害怕了。
Because they see Yashoda's coming.
因为呢他们看到 Yashoda 过来了。
So Krishna jumps up the mortar, starts running.
Yashoda 呢就是Krishna 呢跳下研磨就跑了。
And then Yashoda is approaching.
Yashoda 呢在后面追的。
And she starts running behind him.
在后面赶着他的。
And she has, it is described, Gurudev nicely describes in every Kartik. He used to describe always this description of Damodarashtakam.
Gurudev 呢每年Kartika月呢都会描述这个达摩达八赞歌里面讲的。
That she is, there's so many sweat drops falling in her face like pearls.
那么这时候呢，Yashoda 的脸上就汗水直流了就像那个珍珠滑落了这个脸颊。
And she's described that she has a very big upper part, big breast.
她呢这个上身呢就比较丰满了胸就这个乳房丰满。
Very small waist.
腰很细。
Very big hips.
臀部很大。
Big hips. So then she's running.
所以呢，她在追逐着Krishna.
After Krishna.
在后面追赶他。
And the braid that has so many flowers are jumping off behind her, like saying, "We're following, we're scolding you."
那么呢，这时候呢，她头上的花全部洒落，都掉下来了就那个好像呢在护送着她说我们在追着你护送你。
And they're running, but Krishna, he says, "My mother is very chaste, so she will never go to the street."
那么 Krishna 说了，我母亲是一个很贞妇了她不会到外面随便到外面就是说在街道上去了。
But it was Deepavali.
但是呢，这一天呢，刚好是 Deepavali 点灯节。
This is like Christmas.
这就像西方的这个基督这个叫什么圣诞节一样跟咱们新年一样。
So everybody gets together in their house and is together in the house, don't go out.
那么所有人呢都在家里面团聚了不会出门了。
So Yasodama knew it's Deepavali.
Yashoda 呢心里想的这是 Deepavali 点灯节了。
Nobody will see me, so she.
没有人会在街上看到我的，他就跑出去了。
And Krishna, oh no, she's coming.
Krishna 就想着今天他跑出来了，他来了。
And Yashoda running faster.
Yashoda 呢越跑越快
And Krishna just looking behind, very afraid.
Krishna 呢总是瞅着后面，很害怕了。
And finally, she catches him from behind.
最后呢，被亚修达从后面就揪住了。
And then Krishna starts crying, and she with a stick is showing the stick. I will beat you. I will beat you.
这时候 Krishna 就开始哭起来了亚修达拿着棍子呢就示意了要打你
And Krishna's crying and crying and crying so much.
Krishna 呢在那里呢不断的哭着。
This black kajal coming from his eyes.
那么眼线呢这个黑色的眼线全部就是说呢这个眼膏就是说呢在到了脸上。
In Damodarashtakam, this verse is described, second verse, very beautifully.
所以第二节诗就达摩达八赞歌里面讲到。
That says that Krishna is his eyes, Sakantaneta, his eyes are terrified to see his mother. He's like,
他的眼睛呢非常的惧怕了流露出很惧怕的眼神害怕看到母亲这个样子。
Gurudev says, is this drama? Is he acting?
Gurudev 说他是在表演呢还是真的呢
He says no, he's really, really afraid of her.
他实际上是非常害怕母亲也说的。
And he is muhuswa sakan, his chest is crying so much that his chest muhuswa is continuously moving, and his pearl necklace is jumping from his chest because he's crying so much.
那么他因为天天哭了所以呢在抽泣嘛所以他胸脯一起一伏的，包括他胸前挂了那个宝石也呢在跳跃在胸前跳动。
And he's weeping and weeping and weeping and moving his chest. Don't beat me, with terrified eyes like this picture.
那么就像这个这个画里面看的他眼神流露出恐惧的说不要打我妈妈不要打我。
So in this way, the poor child is terrified.
所以呢这个可怜的孩子呢被吓坏了。
I mean, he's being tortured by his mother.
被母亲折磨了。
The kid is crying and crying.
这个孩子呢在哭的。
She's gonna beat him with a stick.
因为他要用棍子打他了。
Not only that, after she binds him and leaves him bind in the mortar.
最后呢把他绑在这个研磨上绑住了。
You know, so this kid was completely tortured.
所以这个孩子呢被折磨坏了。
So, what do you think? I'm asking this question.
所以呢
Do you think this is bhakti?
这是不是奉爱呢？亚修达所做的一切呢
Who says yes and who says no?
Yes.
Does anybody think this is bhakti?
有没有人觉得这就是奉爱呢
Yes or no?
Yes.
Who says no? It's not
谁说不
bhakti.
是奉爱的
Who says no? Who says
No.
yes?
Yes, oh yes.
Nobody wants. No problem. You can say.
解释一下的
Is it bhakti? Yes or no? The
是
kid,
奉爱吗
the kid is suffering.
这个孩子好像在受苦这个神在受苦
Who says no?
No.
Who says no?
Indira say no
我也是
No? Who says no?
不是奉爱
Who says no?
Yes, yes, also yes.
This is pure bhakti.
这是纯粹的奉爱
Pure bhakti.
解释一下
Because this is the example Gurudev gives.
因为姑爷讲到了这个例子
It should be anukul, favorable for Krishna. Of course, the kid